I stopped using shifts as a way to move players pre-snap and started using motion instead. Here's the difference and why I switched. In some of my conversations with coaches over the last few years, I've realized that a lot of coaches have a different definition of shifts than I do. The most common definition that I've seen for a shift in those conversations has been moving two or more players at the same time. So a large example of this is the tight end wing trade. So let's say that we line up in this formation. This would be West in Shanahan McVay lingo. We're going to take the tight end and wing and take them from one side to the other. Now we'll take the wing and totally move him out, but both players are going to motion at the same time. And that is probably the largest definition of a shift that I've seen, is when we have multiple players in motion at the same time. Now, in the Shanahan McVay system that I base this channel and my offense out of, a shift has a little bit of a different definition. In the Shanahan McVay offense, a shift is when we are going to have pre-snap movement to a formation. One example of a shift is mo, short for move. And if I wanted to shift, then I would say mo to X formation. So an example would be, we're going to go F mo to north right. Mo for me means that we're going to start opposite of our alignment. So the F needs to know that in north, this is our final formation. He's going to be a wing on the weak side. So that means on the F, I know that I'm going to mo to north right. That means I'm going to start as a wing on the strong side. And on the quarterback signal, I'm going to motion to north right. Another example, let's say we're in regular 11 personnel 2x2 and we want to motion the F from a slot receiver on the weak side to the trips formation. So we could say F mo to trips right. He knows in trips right that he's a slot receiver on the strong side, so he's going to start as a slot receiver on the weak side and motion or shift to the strong side. Another example of a shift would be boom. Boom stands for big mo, and what that means is now we're going to motion from an outside alignment to the final formation. So for example, we could go Z boom to scoot right. Well, scoot right is nub trips, where the Z is the number one receiver to the trip side, to the weak side, the 1x3 surface. So he knows by virtue of this boom call that he's going to line up as an outside receiver away from the final formation. So here we're in just that regular 11 personnel 2x2 look. We have Z boom to scoot right. He's going to go from his outside alignment on the opposite side to his final alignment in the final formation. So in the Shanahan McVay offense, shifts are, we are moving to this final formation, and the shift, the definition of the shift is where we align before moving to that final formation. Motion, on the other hand, comes after the formation. So if a shift is movement to a formation, motion is movement away from a formation. So earlier we had this example of F mo to north right. I can break the huddle and present that exact same look by going west right, facts. So this is West. We have 12 personnel, 3x1 with a tight end wing. Facts is motion for F across. So if we have West right, facts, the F is going to start as a strong side wing and motion to a weak side wing. So facts is a motion to a wing on the opposite side. Flight is a motion where we are going to fly to an inside receiver alignment on the opposite side of the formation. So if we wanted to go from our 11 personnel 2x2 to our 11 personnel 3x1, I could go double right, F flight. So he's going to kind of fake a jet motion here, and then he's going to align as an inside receiver, or the ball will be snapped as he is leaving the core. Same way now, instead of going Z boom to scoot right, where we ended up in our nub trips, that motion for me would be float. So flight is fly to an inside receiver. Float would be fly motion to an outside receiver. So when comparing shifts and motions within the context of the Shanahan McVay offense, shifts are how we are going to move to a final formation. Motion is when we are moving away from the formation. So we're going to line up in this formation and we're going to motion to a different presentation. Originally in my offense, I was really big on shifts. I wanted the quarterback to hear the final formation. I wanted him to know when the ball is snapped, this is where everybody's going to be. But the issue that we began to have was that there had to be a new shift for every single different alignment that we could have before moving to the final formation. So, for example, we talked about Mo. Mo means that I'm going to line up opposite of my final alignment. Whether I'm going to be a slot receiver like the F, if we're going to go F Mo to trips right, then I have to know that I'm going to be a slot receiver away from trips right, and then I'm going to motion or shift to my final formation on the right. If I want to shift from an outside alignment, that requires an entirely new shift. That has to be boom. All right, then now, what if I want to present a formation like south, where we have our X and F stacked? Well, if I want to go Mo, am I going to line up between the X and the F, and this is kind of a really condensed twins look? Or do we have to go boom, but then now it doesn't look like we're in our stack? What if I want to shift from the backfield? Every single different location that we can tell somebody to line up before moving to the final formation had to result in a new shift call. So if we're going to be a heavy pre-snap movement team and we're thinking shifts, that's a lot of language that we have to put in, and we're just talking about how are we going to line up. Now, one of the main purposes of pre-snap movement is so we can hide our alignment and not reveal our tendencies to the defense. And if we're not willing to put in that amount of language, then what I found shifts we're going to lead to is that we're going to be breaking the huddle in alignments that we don't normally run plays from. For example, let's say we're in a regular 20 personnel look here, and we are a heavy wide zone team. We're going to run wide zone lead to the fullback. Everybody knows when we get in this set that they can expect that we're going to run wide zone and our fullback's going to be leading, so they start keying the fullback. So what we want to do then is we want to try and hide our alignment as long as possible. A good defensive coordinator, if this is the main thing we do out of this set, a good defensive coordinator might roll to cover 3 and get an extra alley player with the strong safety coming down because they know that this is going to be the point of attack. But what we want to do with pre-snap movement is we want to hide our alignment. So let's say that maybe the F is going to start out as a slot receiver. Well, a defensive coordinator on the sideline is probably not going to be rolling cover 3 to this look. So then you take the F and we move him into the backfield from here and snap the ball. Now the defense doesn't have time to get a different call in. And here's where I started having problems with that philosophically. This fullback is a lead blocker. His purpose for being on the field is to block and maybe catch a flat route every so often just to make sure that the defense can't send the house when he's in the game. If I line him up out wide right here, am I really presenting to the defense that we're probably going to run a play here? And again, we're thinking about being a heavy shift team. So if I'm a defensive coordinator and I know that the opposing offense is going to shift a lot, and I know that they're probably not running something with the fullback out of the box right here, I'm probably going to be giving my inside linebackers or giving my safeties tools to just, whenever we motion back here, we have an automatic kill to cover 3, because I know that this fullback out of the box is not a threat, that they are not going to run a play with him out here that's going to be of any consequence. So what a well-coached defense will do is just wait until the fullback gets set to dissect the final formation before having some kind of auto check based on that alignment. So if we're going to be a heavy pre-snap movement offense, which I do advocate so we can protect our base plays and run them many different ways, we have to maintain plausibility that we can snap the ball at any point after we break the huddle. And where shifts got for me is that we're either going to have in so many, or we're going to start to lose that plausibility of being able to snap the ball at any point. So instead, what I want to do is I want to use motions, and I want to have a group of base formations that can be quickly motioned to one another. So I'm going to give an example of 3 of my favorite formations here and just how quickly and how simply we can move between them. And the first formation that I have here, one of my favorites, is North Ace. North just tells our F to be a weak side wing. Ace is going to tighten our X and Z down into 5-yard splits. So we have North Ace, and my next formation is west ace. West is going to tell our F to be a strong side wing, and ace, again, we have our 5-yard splits from the X and the Z. So we have 2x2 with north ace, we have 3x1 with west ace. Now I want a 1x3, and this is north slimmer. So north, again, we have our F as a wing away from the tight end, a weak side wing. Slimmer tells us that we're going to have a tight stack with the X and the Z, essentially giving us a bunch away from a nub tight end. Now, each of these formations going into a game will have a menu of what I call static plays. A static play meaning that there is no pre-snap motion. We're going to line up, we're going to break the huddle, and we're going to snap the ball straight into the play. But each of these formations can also be very quickly motioned to with just 1 or 2 motions. So here I'm in north slimmer. If I want to get to north ace, then I'm 1 motion away. I am a Z flight motion away from now essentially being in north ace. By the time the ball is snapped, we will be 2x2 with the receivers in relatively the exact same positions they would be if we had lined up out of the huddle in north ace. So we can run every single play that would be static in north ace. We can run from north slimmer Z flight. And I'll take you through an example of one in just a minute. If we are in north slimmer and I want to get to west ace, then I'm just 2 motions away. We can go fax. So we're going to F across to the strong side wing. And then again, we have our Z flight. By the time the ball is snapped, we have our tight end wing Z 3x1, and we have our single backside with the X. So I can access my entire west ace menu, and I can access my entire north ace menu from north slimmer with 1 to 2 motions. Right now we are breaking the huddle, and we are in west ace. If I want to get to north ace, I'm again just 1 fax motion away to having my 2x2 with the X and F on the weak side and my Y and my Z on the strong side. So west ace to get to north ace would just be fax. If I want to get to north slimmer, then again, it's just fax Z flight. By the time the ball is snapped, I have my nub tight end and I have my 3 close receivers, maybe not technically to the yard within a bunch, but a defense is going to have to cover it basically as if we were in a bunch. So if we line up in west ace and I want to get to north slimmer, it would just be fax Z flight. Finally, if we line up in north ace and we want to get to west ace, it would be 1 simple fax motion that would be able to take us there. And then if I'm lined up in north ace and I want to be able to access my north slimmer menu, it would be Z flight. And with 1 Z flight motion, we have gone from 2x2 condensed to nub bunch 1x3 condensed. Now, if I were to take this idea and try and use it more with a shift mentality of we are going to move to the formation, flight in this scenario wouldn't even be possible to be a shift, because with this we're trying to snap the ball on the run and create leverage at the snap. So then we run into trying to do like F mode to north ace Z flight. So we start at that point getting into combining shifts and motions, and now we have even more parts to a play call. Then you have a shift, a formation, and a motion, as opposed to here's our formation and here's our 1, maybe 2 motions. But if we also notice, we are only actually running 2 motions up here. We ran fax and we ran Z flight, not even float, not even F flight. We ran fax and Z flight. So when we have formations that can be quickly motioned to one another, we can really kind of narrow down some of the language, as opposed to, as we talked about, having to have a different name for every pre-snap alignment for a shift. And here it would be pretty simple for all of these. Instead of fax, it could just be FMO, but this is just one example of a formation grouping. And for the most part, I would do my best to really try and stick to just 1 motion, at least early on in the game. The double motions would be when a defense starts to think, okay, well, here they motioned, now we can be ready to roll. That second motion is when we were really trying to change the leverage. So let's look at a couple examples of some plays that would go from static and how the motion would be applied. So when we think about starting to apply this formation and motion theory, if we have these 3 formations, then we basically have 3 built-in ways that we can run any play. We have our static way, and then if we have 2 complementary formations that we can motion to, that gives us 3 ways that we can run the exact same play. And when we're talking about the exact same play, I'm not even talking about, hey, wide zone is wide zone, whether it's we got just a tight end or a tight end wing, it's still wide zone. No, we are running the exact same play. And here from north north, we can look at Y shadow. So Y shadow says that our Y is going to be on our high cross. That means our Z is going to be on the basic. Our X is going to have the blazer, and shadow means that our F is going to run a shallow, and our H is going to chip and release to the flat. So this would be our static way out of north ace. This would just be north ace, Y shadow, and it's static. There's no motion involved. Now I can go from west ace, fax, Y shadow, and it's the exact same play. By the time we get ready to snap the ball, we have the players in the exact same places. Then instead of west ace, maybe we're in north slimmer. Now we've got our 1x3. We go north slimmer, Z flight, and we would snap the ball as he's leaving the core, so he would get a running start into his basic on the backside, giving some eye candy away from the play side where we're trying to get our 3-level flood, and we have players running the exact same routes from the exact same places by the time the ball is snapped. All right, now we're in west ace. A similar play would be Y blade. Again, Y, we're tagging the Y. He's going to run our crosser. Our X, as the single receiver, is going to have the blazer. Our Z still on the basic. Blade means that the hook route on the backside is going to come from the F, and we're still going to get that chip and release flat from the H. So the static way that we would run blade would be from west ace. This gives us our 3-level flood and then our backside high-low to help us beat cover 2. Now, how many ways can I get to west ace from other formations that we have static plays out of? Remember, we're trying to avoid shifts because we don't want to line up in a pre-snap place that we don't have a static menu from. And for me, the best way to keep my brain in control with that is to have formations and motions instead of trying to think of all the shifts we can have. So if we go from north ace, fax, that gets us to west ace, and now everybody's running the exact same thing from the exact same place. The defense doesn't have time to think about what plays do they run out of north ace. Oh, well, here he goes fax, he goes F across. Now what plays are they running out of west ace? There's not enough time for that. So that allows us to hide our base plays because the defense always has to be in tune that the ball can be snapped. Again, if we were to shift and line the F up all the way out here, well, we don't run plays with an F, a fullback wing type, as a widened out number 1 receiver. So a well-coached defense is just going to wait for him to come. What's the final formation? Okay, now what do they run? As opposed to, we have the plausibility that we're in north ace. We could be running shadow right here. We could definitely be running a strong side wide zone to either side. We have plenty of plays that we can run. So the defense has to be ready for the ball to be snapped with the menu of plays that we have at any given point in time. And that's going to allow us to be able to run these exact same plays. So we've gone from north ace here to west ace Y blade. Now we're in north slimmer. We would go fax to get our F on the strong side. Then we go Z flight, and we're still getting that eye candy for our backside basic. So we have totally changed the picture here. We've gone from 1x3 to 3x1, extreme change of strength motion. And while we didn't talk about it as a base formation, there would be another formation that I would run plays out of, and that would be west slimmer here, where we have our 2x2 with the tight end wing over here and our 2-man stack on the weak side. So the defense still has to be ready for the ball to be snapped at any given point. Now we're in north slimmer. One of our base plays here would just be X sail. So X sail is going to put our X on the sail route. Now our Z as the number 1 would have the blazer, and our F would be in the flat. This could be a 6-man protection with our Y as the basic on the back side. We have our check over the ball. We still get our 3-level flood. We still have our high-low for cover 2. So this would be a static play from north slimmer. Now, how can we get to north slimmer from our other base formations? If we were in north ace, we can get to north slimmer just by our Z flight motion. So now, instead of flight motion to a backside route, he has flight motion to a play side route. We notice that the defense starts leaving him alone because he's been on the backside for a while with his flight motion. Now they leave him alone, and we're going to throw a touchdown pass. If we are in west ace, we can get from west ace to north slimmer with fax Z flight. So again, we are extremely changing the strength. We're going from 3x1 to 1x3, and we are running the exact same play. The same players have the same routes, and we're able to hide that because we are constantly presenting a probability to the defense that the ball can be snapped at any point along the way. We could snap the ball after we've gone from west ace fax to north ace, and they don't even know that the Z flight is coming. We could snap the ball there, then now the Z flight comes, and we are changing the strength, changing the leverage right before the snap, That's so much for a defense to process that they're not going to be able to think about the tendencies. What are we doing when we have double tight? What are we doing when we have 1 by 3? What are we doing when we have 3 by 1? They can't think about those things with how quickly we can change the strength, because we are lining up in a formation and motioning to other formations that we also run static plays out of. And this was a large mental unlock for me, and I caught it while I was watching some Rams film. And if you want to dive deeper into that, you can click on the screen and watch this next video, and I'll tell you all about it.